play water polo with Sam at APS, and I play for Pace Academy, and I play on the Southeast Zone team. I'm here to work towards my Girl Scout Gold Award project, and for that I'm doing a series of talks with Tumua and a clinic that you should all sign up for. I'm really lucky to have Tumua with me as my advisor. She was born in Hawaii and played goalie for Corona Del Mar High School in Newport Beach, California. She was California Player of the Year. Her senior year in high school, which was really cool because California is like crazy at water polo. And she was NCAA champion and All-American while playing for the University of Southern California, and ended her career with 714 saves, which is the most in school history. She won a gold medal at the 2012 Summer Olympic Games, and she got married last year and works for Coke now, which is why she's here.
So I'm really excited to be here. I did a bit of research on you girls before I came, so I'm impressed by your school and your academic background, as well as I know that 80% of you, I believe is the statistic, are involved in sports here at the school, so that's really exciting. And then of course, obviously, as a female athlete, I'm excited to talk to you guys about my experiences with athletics and the wonderful things that I've learned while I played sports, and the wonderful people that I've met and the relationships that I made, as well as like the really cool things like going to the Olympics that kind of sports was able to open up to me. So I'll leave some time at the end for all of you guys to ask questions, because I know everyone, there's never a dumb question if you want to ask me about anything from like school to training to whatever. Like, I'm open to answering any questions you guys might have. So we'll leave those for the end. But yeah. So obviously, one of the coolest events that I got to be a part of while I played sports was the Olympic Games. It's the world's biggest stage. I'd say that and FIFA World Cup are probably the biggest sporting events in the world. And it was an opportunity that I dreamed about doing forever. My first Olympic memory. How many? Raise your hand if you've watched opening ceremonies. Yes. So that was my favorite Olympic memory before going and participating at the Olympics. And I remember it was actually here in Atlanta when Atlanta hosted the Summer Games. I was a swimmer. At the time, I was about 7 years old. And I remember watching Amanda Beard swimming down by Georgia Tech at the Olympic pool. I didn't see it in real life, but I remember watching it on TV, and that's when I decided, I would love to do something like that. She was my kind of sport idol growing up. So, to give you a little background about the Olympics, because I think it kind of plays into a really neat story. It's so much more than just the individual athlete themselves. There was a lot of history in the Olympic Games. So it actually originated in Greece. I'm sure a lot of you guys may know that. But now we think of the modern games, we think of the modern Summer Olympics. But it was born many years ago in ancient Greece. And it started as a way to bring the world together. So like you see in opening ceremonies, while all the countries march out with all of their athletes, it's the same idea when it started, is it was a time of a sacred truce, in which whatever wars or contentions that were happening in Greece at the time of the nation itself kind of ceased for that period of the Olympic Games, and people celebrated, all the wonderful values around the Olympics and around participating in sport. One of the coolest things, especially that's pertinent to female athletes, is in the ancient Olympics, women weren't allowed to participate. They were only allowed to watch. But now, of course, you see some of your favorite female athletes at the Olympics, and it's awesome to be able to be participating in the modern Olympics as opposed to how it ran back in Greece. It then kind of evolved. It was kind of died out for a little while, and Pierre de Coubertin brought it back a little while ago. It's still pretty new, I'd say. 1896 is pretty old, but it's still kind of new. And that's kind of when the marathon started, when you it wasn't just in Greece, now you can take it. So I participated in London, they hosted it here in Atlanta, it'll be in Brazil next year. There's a lot more, so there's not just Summer Olympics anymore, there's Winter Olympics, which is awesome because, you know, who likes to ski and snowboard, and you can involve all of those sports in this Olympic movement. So it's grown to be something so much bigger than it began. And, you know, it's not just maybe wrestling, weightlifting, marathon. Now you get to see all these cool sports like water polo, like snowboarding, figure skating, beach volleyball, things that you like watching on TV. All of these sports can be a part of this big event now. And then, of course, there was no opening and closing ceremonies back in the day in Greece, and now that's one of the coolest parts, especially as an athlete to participate, is to be able to walk into opening ceremonies and feel really like you're representing your country as well as you're really part of the world. I think 2012 is something that was momentous for women's sports. It was the first Olympic Games in which there was a female from every country that was represented. So this London, they like to nickname it the Women's Olympics because of the number of participants of women in the Olympics. And they say in Rio, it could eventually have even numbers of men participating as there are women, which I think is really awesome. And I like to put the gymnastics team up there because I think they're great role models for all of us, and that they're so young and they're so excited and they're such wonderful athletes. And we got to hang out with them at the Olympics. They're all really cool and they're all like really close. They're like best friends. So I think they just portray a lot of great values that I have loved in sports. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story particularly. So I like to start it with a picture of my sister and I, because I only have 2 kids in my family, and my sister is just 2 years older than me, and I pretty much started playing sports because of my sister. I was like that annoying little sister who followed her around everywhere and wanted to hang out with all her friends. And so when she would go to practice, I was like, well, duh, I want to go to practice too. So it essentially started out as me following my sister around, which led me to the pool. I'm from Hawaii, like they mentioned, and so my dad got us into swimming because he wanted us to be water worthy, as he put it, so that he essentially could take us surfing and not worry about us. So I come from a family of ocean water people, so how appropriate that I got into swimming and then got into water polo. And then I started out swimming. So I'm that like 5th place, the one awkwardly in the middle. But I grew up swimming, so I would say that I'm definitely a swimmer as well as a water polo player. I know that there's some great swim programs here in Atlanta. And then essentially, how did I choose water polo? I kind of got sick of looking at the black line all day. And I wanted to throw a ball in there and try and score goals and be part of a team, essentially. I think the swim team and all the things that I learned how to set goals when I was young in swimming, you know. Just like in a lot of individual sports, like track and field, you're trying to shave off maybe a second or 2 seconds, and you do a year of work just to shave off a couple seconds. And I think even those lessons that I learned of hard work for even those very small gains was something that I still use now in setting goals. And you know, at the end of the year, you might not have dropped a whole minute off your 100 meter, but if you drop, you know, 0.5 seconds, that's a success. And that's something that I've valued from my experience in swimming. But essentially, what brought me to water polo was the relationships that I would have with my friends. I put a whole bunch of pictures. That was me in high school. I pretty much stayed on the team. I love water polo now. I think it's developed. But I essentially started playing so that I could hang out with my friends all day. And they've, you know, they're essentially like, they continue to be some of my best friends. They were at my wedding. They're even after college, a lot of the girls that you meet now, you know, that when you create those bonds, and even I think it's more pronounced when you play sports together, because you all have a common goal. And you're spending that time that you have at practice, and you're spending that energy when you're running or swimming, and you're doing it together, and it makes that friendship relationship so much stronger. And I think that's kind of a testament to all the friends that I continue to have in high school. that, you know, however many years later, that we're still really good friends, and they're all in my wedding line. So, sports also offered me the opportunity to go to school. After high school, I wanted to continue to play water polo. My family very much values education, and so this kind of opened a door for me to continue not only to go to college, but to play sports in college and continue to pursue my passion of athletics. So I attended USC in Los Angeles. It's not South Carolina. When I refer to it here, everyone's like, oh, cool. But I'm like, no, it's the one in LA. But I continued to play water polo there. I actually chose USC because not necessarily for the water polo. I chose it because I was a journalism major. And they have a great communications and journalism school. And one of the bonuses was that they had a great water polo program. And I knew that if, you know, I didn't necessarily know I'm going to make the Olympic team, but I knew if I'm going to continue to play sports for these next 4 years, I want to try and be the best player that I can be. Both, you know, I want to be the best, I want to get the best education I can get, and I also want to get the best experience for me athletically. And so for me, USC was the perfect fit. This is a little propaganda for my alma mater. But it was a great 4 years, and I think to just kind of build off those relationships that I really value in sports, it was a great time of learning. I think it's cool to highlight that we won a national championship, but also I think just as duly noted is that we lost in 3 national championship finals. We only won in my senior year. So I think when you learn the lessons of maybe even defeat, you learn more kind of when you lose than when you win. And I think that's something that I definitely would pull from my college experience in sports, is that you know, you may lose some of the biggest games of your career, but if you keep pushing at it and you keep going, that it may not work out the next year, it may not work out the year before, but it just might work out in your last year there. So I think that's a big kind of learning experience for me while I was at USC. And then I got invited to be part of the national team. So you don't automatically just make the Olympic team, you have to get invited to be part of the US women's national team. So I got the call, basically got invited to a tryout. I went to the tryout, and following my graduation in 2011 from USC, I joined the full-time training roster for the Olympic team, or to try out to be part of the Olympic team. So they essentially take all the girls in all of the US who play water polo, and you go through essentially like a process of 1 million different tryouts. And if you're selected for this year-long full-time training roster, then that's kind of the first step in making the Olympic team. So there was about a group of 30 of us, and we all moved down to Southern California. We had a girl from Michigan, a girl from Oregon. A lot of us were from Southern California, a few from Northern California, and we lived in Long Beach for a year. And we trained like every single day, twice a day. We had about 7 hours of practice every day. It was like a full-time job, like coming to school instead of, maybe you guys did this today, instead of coming to school and sitting in class, you're essentially working out for 7 hours a day. We did a lot of weightlifting and cross-training, a lot of swimming and conditioning, and then also we watched a lot of video and studied our opponents a lot, and that's kind of what we did for a year straight. But since we trained in California, you can't really play sports forever. We traveled a lot, and I like to highlight all the fun stuff that happened, but behind all these fun pictures, there was a lot of work. We went to the Olympic Training Center a lot in Colorado Springs to do high altitude training. We got to go to tournaments in Greece and Hungary and all these exotic places that I essentially was able to see the world while I was playing. And just having those cultural experiences and seeing how people live in other places has been a huge, valuable building experience for me. We had our qualifying tournament for the Olympics in Guadalajara, Mexico. So not every nation gets to go to the Olympics. For women's water polo, it's just 14 teams. And there's 205 national Olympic committees that are eligible to qualify. So from those 205, only 14 women's teams get to go to the Olympics. So we had to qualify, and that's what we did in Mexico. And then we got to go to a few test tournaments in London. So We went to the Olympics, and I'd say my Olympics experience was amazing, but at the same time, it was kind of like a business trip, in that you get to have all these fun experiences, but you're also there to compete and to play. So we got to go to London before the Olympics and got to kind of see all the fun stuff and kind of test it all out. I'll show you this video. It's not professional, I'll just give you a heads up, but obviously everyone likes to take their own videos at the Olympics, so we made a little team montage of our pictures and videos that I wanted to share with you guys. So let's see. To give you kind of like the cool touch points of the Olympics, you obviously get to stay in the village, kind of like those clips of when we were getting ready to go to opening ceremonies. You essentially stay in like this huge apartment complex with all of the athletes. And this was our view from our balcony. And the U.S. essentially has like these 3 big buildings, and it's filled with all of the U.S. athletes. And then across the way there was Italy, I think Germany was maybe to our left, and it's just essentially like a huge complex of athletes. And the awesome thing is that you get to kind of meet these, famous people that you see on TV, as well as people that you are from countries you've never even heard of before. So it's a great experience to kind of learn culture, as well as just talk to people and kind of get to know them. I think my favorite was the Williams sisters, because they're just awesome. So I had to put them up there. But they're, it's like these people that you see on TV and that I had kind of looked up to and idolized as athletes, and to be able to meet them and talk to them was something that I'll never forget. It was awesome. Opening ceremonies, I'd say if I had 2 goosebump moments, it would definitely be opening ceremonies and getting my medal. I think opening ceremonies in that, like, we all watch it, and then when you're actually part of the show, it's kind of very surreal. And I'll tell you kind of a fun story. So we were walking in with the men's basketball team, and I'm sure we all know, like, who's on the basketball team, they're like super famous, but then I heard one of them say, like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing I've ever been to, as we were walking in. And I just thought, like, I feel like I'm getting goosebumps, and if he's getting goosebumps, then this really must be like the coolest moment ever. So to kind of have that wow moment with people who have seen really wow was amazing. And then to hear, USA, as you walk in with these thousands of people, it still gives me goosebumps. Can't see through my jacket, but it does. Like I said, meeting people from around the world, meeting people that you've always kind of looked up to, as well as spending time with your teammates in that really special space, was really something that I cherished. I think the athlete experience is different because you are there to compete, and for us, it was, our whole tournament was 12 days, and the Olympics is 14 days, so we kind of got a day off at the beginning, and then we got a day off right before closing ceremonies. But to play at the Olympics, I've gotten to play in some really cool places around the world, as well as participate at a university level in the U.S. But I'd say playing at the Olympics, there is a lot more pressure. Your whole family's there. You don't always see your parents in the stands when you represent the national team, because sometimes you're playing in China and your mom's not always there. So I think it maybe added a little pressure having all of your loved ones there, but it makes it so much more special. And we had some really close games, as you kind of briefly saw in some of those pictures. We only won our games by 1 or 2 points. So the competition in women's water polo is there's a lot of parity. Anyone could essentially win on any day. So it was a nerve-wracking experience, but at the same time, where there's, where it's struggle and it's hard, it's so much more rewarding that way. And to kind of touch on my podium moment, I think everyone loves to know what's it like to get your gold medal. And this is very cliche, but it still is really hard to explain. I'd say that when you get your medal, obviously you're like, holy smokes, is this something that I get to keep? I still feel like mine's on loan or something that I earned, and I have to give it back. But it's just this like piece of history, essentially. But I think that the medal kind of is secondary to the experience. And I always like to say that the medal is to be shared, and that this experience that I was able to have is to be shared, because it's very rare for to be able to participate in the Olympics. But I think I thought of all of the people and all of the practices that it took to get to that moment when you're standing on the podium, and when you get to hear your national anthem. It's something that you hear a lot in school, something that you may hear at baseball games and stuff, but when it's being played for you, it's pretty amazing. And of course you get emotional and you get teary, and then I think my favorite part was seeing my nephew after, and he was just so excited. He had no idea what was going on. For a second, Aunt Tumua was really cool. And so to be able to share that, and I know my dad was super emotional, and some of my best friends from college were there, and to be able to share that experience with them was I think, the most special part about getting the medal. I think, obviously, the Olympics was in 2012, and we're getting ready for Rio in 2016. So I'm no longer playing water polo, I guess you can call it retired, which is what brought me here to Atlanta. So I now work for Coke in their Olympic marketing program. So Coke is the longest standing Olympic sponsor for over 86 years, and so now I essentially am coming from the sponsor side and activating some really cool things for athletes in the village, ways to market the Olympics and kind of spread happiness the Coke way of the Olympics, which has been really neat for me to see it from the athletic standpoint as well as from a different view of the Olympic Games. I think that kind of shows my moment with my nephew, in which I'll get street cred for being the coolest auntie ever for a few minutes. These are my niece and nephews, so there's the next generation of our family getting into sports and doing a whole bunch of fun stuff. My sister played water polo with me at USC also, and then her husband plays football, so we're a sports family. And then I got married this summer. That's my husband with the Coke Bear. He's pretty tall, and people always laugh at this picture because he's like, is the size of the bear. But he plays volleyball, so he's training to get ready for Rio. So we actually just got back from Indonesia today, and he's in LA, and then they start training with the U.S. men's team in Anaheim this week. So we're kind of like all over the place, but still in the Olympics, but now I'm a supporter, and I'm coming from like the more corporate side of it, but I've just loved everything that sports has allowed me to do. Most of the relationship that I've made with the teammates that I've had, the education that I was able to get through sports, as well as kind of the view of the world that I was able to get with my Olympic experience. And I hope that, 80% of you are already involved in sports, and I think just those things that I learned in high school, those people that I met in high school have molded me and given me the opportunity to do all those other things. So I want to open it up to you guys a lot for questions. So if you have a question, maybe just like raise your hand and stand up, and so that everyone can have a question. Yes.
You want me to stand up?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you balance school and sports this year?
So it's hard. Obviously, sports takes sports takes up, as you get older and as you get more involved, it takes up more of your time. But I think to maybe piggyback off of what did I learn as opposed to what skills did I gain, that was definitely time management. The more things that you have on your calendar, the more you have to prioritize. So I learned kind of what, at an early age, like what's important to me. What do I want to spend my time doing? And then making sure that I have enough time to do all of those things well. And I think the best, piece of advice that I would say is, obviously manage your time well, but then when you're in those spaces, when you're in school, when you're in practice, putting your whole self into it. Don't be thinking about what am I going to do in an hour. Just, you're there for that hour, make it the best hour ever, and then kind of transfer into whatever you're going to do next. Yes.
Did you get any scholarships when you played soccer?
Yes. So I was lucky in that I had done well in high school. So I got offered scholarships to go to different schools. And I think, obviously, there's a huge benefit in being an athlete in that you get a lot of support for academics. That was one of the great things I think that sports allowed me during college is that I could have tutors for all of my classes because it was essentially mandated by the university. And I could have study, mandated study hall, which just gave me that block of time to study, and then at the same time, but it takes a lot of balancing. Yes.
How many days a week did you practice?
For the Olympics? So we practiced Monday, we practiced 6 days a week and we got Sunday off. But we had double days every single day, and essentially I woke up at 5:55 every day. And I had to do the pool at 7. We had weights from 7 to 8:30, in which we did lifting, and then we also ran. And then from 8:30 until 10, we were in the water and we essentially just did a whole bunch of conditioning. So we'd swim for about an hour and then do legs for half an hour. And then we'd get a 2-hour lunch break and we'd come back for like 3.5, 4 more hours. We'd watch essentially an hour of video and walk through some stuff outside of the pool, and then we'd get in the pool and do like more specific water flow stuff. So passing, shooting, go into different stations, different specialties of positions, and then do like tactical stuff at the last hour. Yes.
So one of my questions already got answered, but I have another one.
Okay.
So since you work for code, do you know the secret formula?
No, I don't know that. I know that it's hidden somewhere, very highly secure, but I don't. And even if I did, I don't think I could tell you. Yes.
Which swimming pool were you guys swimming at the day that you won the gold medal?
We were in London. So it's actually a temporary pool. So in London, the water polo arena was actually temporary, so it was built just for the Olympics. And that's where we played and where we won our gold medal. And then something kind of fun is that they packed it all up. They packed it at the Olympic water polo stadium, and they're shipping it to Rio. So it'll be the same pool as it was. So if the U.S. women's team wins again, they'll have one in the same pool twice. Yes.
With the apartment thing with the village, the buildings just stay there after the Olympics?
Yes. So people actually live in those apartments now.
So
Yeah.
cool.
So actually, while I was in college, I hosted the Olympics in Los Angeles. A few years ago, not a little while ago. But I lived in the old Olympic Village in Los Angeles where I was in school, because they're now apartments. So it's the same thing. It's usually after the athletes are in there, they're sold just as regular apartments with money payments. And they're all used. Yes.
Who was the most inspiring person you met at the Olympics?
The most inspiring person I met at the Olympics. I think I put a picture of my team favorites. So the Williams sisters, because I was always a huge fan, as well as an Olympic marathon runner. I had a picture with him, but he just essentially has a really cool story of coming from. He's like one of the lost boys of Sudan who came to America, and he's an Olympic marathoner. And he was just the coolest guy. We didn't get to go watch his marathon until the last day, but and then he was at closing ceremonies. He literally ran a marathon that morning, and then he came to closing ceremonies. And I'm like, shouldn't you be in his bed? Like, what happened? But there's amazing people at the Olympics, not just athletes, but people, and their stories are incredible. And I think they're yes.
Did you meet Gabby Douglas?
I did. And I know Keela Ross. She's from California also. And she has some family in Hawaii, but the gymnastics team is really cool. But I'm kind of tall, but they're like really small. And so it's just so funny. Obviously, there's all these people that want to meet them. They're awesome. But they're just so small that they almost get lost in the crowd of people that want to meet them. Yeah.
Playing goalie, did you play the whole Olympics?
So Betsy, who's the other goalie on the U.S. women's team, she is probably the greatest goalie ever to have played the position. I was her backup. I played in two of our games leading into the final, but Betsy pretty much played all the other games. Yeah. Yes.
When you were training for the Olympics, did you like all the working out?
Do you like working out? Do I like working out? I love working out. Even now that I'm done, it's one of my best stress relievers. I find that when I work out, I sleep better, I feel better, and I have more energy. So, but when you do it that much, it's hard. It of course gets hard. You have to take care of your body. It's a different dynamic. But I think because I know how far I can push my body, it's left a better legacy of further down the road of always in the exercise. Yes. Why did I decide to retire? Well, I had done everything that I wanted to do. I always, I got to win JOs as an age group athlete. I got to win the national championship, and I got to really good at something else. And I think that kind of is when I wanted to start learning certain things. Okay, like one more, yes.
Okay, at what age would you say that we should start deciding that if we did want to do the Olympics, that we need to really train?
I'm a huge fan of people playing lots of sports when they're young. And I'm actually expecting, that's another thing, so I'm going to have a baby in August. And it's a girl, so I would hope that I'm going to encourage her, of course, to participate. But also, I know that you get pressured into specializing really young. But I kind of tried to hold that off until I got to sophomore, junior year, until I really started playing water polo by itself. Because I feel like when I played volleyball, or when I ran on the cross country team, or when I swam or played water polo, there's so many different skill sets that you learn, as well as different people that you get to hang out with. That I think the base of conditioning and the base of just taking care of yourself starts at any age, and will just continue to develop as you become Olympic caliber. But I would encourage you to play some sports.
All right, so obviously Tuma's really cool, and we're having a clinic on May 2nd, and she will be there. So you should come, even if you don't think water polo is your thing. It's more of just like a get excited about sports and maybe learn to play a new one kind of thing. And then after that, if you think you want to play water polo, that's Coach Stu, and he's our coach. And it'd be really great if you guys wanted to come out and be on our team. And if you have any questions about the clinic, Sam's going to pass out flyers, and you can email Sam.
Yeah, Sam Schaefer, Portland.
I brought my medal. I don't know how much time you guys have, but I don't want to take like a selfie or whatever. So if you want it, or I don't know if you have your phones, I don't know if you're allowed. But I have it, so if you like want to file out in some special way, whatever you want to see it. I would leave that maybe up to your teachers to decide how it's best to do that. Or maybe I can come by the exit.